here again. Micah, sorry that I am here again. If you come across this video, I want you to just tune in, listen. So it's my second live. I mean, I just decided to be coming on live unprepared without planning. So today I was reading about Daniel. I thought about Daniel and how much the life of Daniel is very inspiring. The book of Daniel, how we can learn from it. You know, when you read the scriptures in the Bible, you discover that a lot of principles, concepts, things that you can apply to your life to succeed. It's like the Bible, the scripture cut across everything that it can be applicable. And then just thinking, I'll be sharing from different books, but today I'm just going to focus on chapter 1. And I'm just going to read. There's some principles, biblical principles that can help us succeed and be more productive in our lives. You know, just by learning from what they did in their life. So if you join this live, please don't forget to just drop a comment, subscribe, say something. Let me see you. Let me hear you. Let me know I'm not alone. And make sure you watch this live when you come across it. So from verse 4, it said, select only strong, healthy, and good-looking young men. He said, make sure they are well versed in every branch of learning and gifted with the knowledge and good judgment as suited to serve in the royal palace. Now, I would usually see that it seems Daniel was selected. Daniel and his friends were selected to go to the university because they were going to stay there for a period for how many years? They were going to stay there for years. So, and it said they were very specific about how they needed to. Scripture said, good looking, healthy young men. Make sure they are well versed in knowledge. That means they have to be intelligent, they have to be skillful. These are people that have been working on their lives. You know, one of the things I learned from that aspect is that um they had skill, they were skilled, they were people. They said make sure they are well versed in learning. That means they've improved themselves. Now we talked about the importance of improving ourselves, upgrading our skills, learning and ability and knowledge, such that we are prepared for opportunities. Now, I'm sure there were a lot of persons that wish they were selected at that time, but they were not selected because they were not qualified. They didn't have the qualification. Now, you were trusting God for opportunities. You want to achieve certain things, but you're not even working on yourself. So even if the time comes for selection, you won't be selected because you don't have what it takes. That time, while you're waiting for those opportunities, while you're waiting for that time, you can improve on yourself. You can work on yourself. You can work on your learning. You can learn so much. And that's one of the things that makes others stand out. Now, one of the things they were looking out for, they were looking out for people boys that stood out among others, that had something different to offer. And that was the difference with Daniel and his friends. He was very different. He and his friends stood out and they were selected. Now, something else that I learned that was very profound in that same scripture, he said, assign them daily to ration of food and wine from his own kitchen and all of that. Now in verse 6, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, people they call Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were all chosen from those tribes. But in verse 8, which I'm reading, Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and the wine given to them by the king. He asked the chef for permission not to eat this unacceptable food. Now, God had given the chief of staff, both respect and affection for Daniel, but he responded, I'm afraid of my lord, the king, who has ordered that you eat this food and wine. If you become pale and thin compared to the other youths your age, I'm afraid the king will have me beheaded. Daniel spoke with the attendant. Now, let's stop there. Now, one of the things that I learned from that place, identity. He and his friend understood their identity and they stood by it. They had an identity that they were children of. As much as that was a requirement, they were not willing to change. They had an identity and they stood by it. They know who they were. Now, in as much as you wouldn't put that their names were changed, the environment has changed. They gave them different names. They moved from, they were now slaves, but it didn't change who they were. They understood who they were. Now, I may not be in Israel anymore. They may have changed my name, but I'm still God's child. I still have principles that I live by. They knew who they were, and they stood by it. They understood their identity. So for you to succeed, one of the principles we could learn that you would not allow people define who you should be, or define your personality. Let your personality don't become somebody who is moved by everything and anything. They understood who they were and they stood by it. Now, this one and that thing is that they set a standard. Now we look in that scripture. First of all, they didn't want to defile themselves. And then they asked that we would not want to eat these things. We have a standard. You would not want to eat food offered to the gods of your gods. As much as we understand that this is what it should be, we have a standard. Now, and do you know what it is that as much as eating those food, imagine you going to be served amazing food and deciding that you would want to honor God. They decided to honor God where they were. I mean, it was not in the church. So where you are, can you decide to honor God? In your school, at your workplace, wherever you are. They decided, I mean, this was not a church, but they decided they had a standard, they had the principles they lived by. They were not going to defile themselves, they were not going to dishonor God, they were going to stand by that principle, and and they were going to stand by that and honor God where they are. And I think it's something we should learn to have a standard and stand by it, not to be moved by every wind of doctrine or by anything anybody says because we want to make compromises because we just want to achieve things. So that was things they did. Now, something else that they did was that even though they were not comfortable with those things, they decided to practice respectful resistance. They understood that those people were right to give a law. I mean, to have a standard they have. I mean, you were supposed to eat these things because we have an aim. We want to achieve something. Now, I'm talking about things and lessons we can learn from the life of Daniel. So, and I'm just talking about some of the lessons from the book of Daniel. So, now they decided that they were not going to, even though they wanted to, no, sometimes we're in a place where we want to resist something. We want to talk about something we are not comfortable with. And sometimes we want to use the hard rule or we want to fight about it. You can use the respect, you can decline certain offer respectively, and you can also you can decline certain offer respectively, you can resist certain things respectively without dishonoring somebody or without being insultive or without saying things inappropriately. Now what they did was that Daniel didn't just quarrel with the man in charge of them. He asked him that I understand that indeed this is what is obtainable, but I want to plead that you would please test us for 10 days. If there is a difference, then you can continue. Negotiation. He had to learn how to negotiate. Now, in the world out there, people are not going to always agree with us, but we can negotiate respectively and let people see reasons with us by doing it the right way and doing it respectfully. That's what Daniel did. He told him, I don't think I understand that this is what you this is what you are meant to do because this is your job. But I want you to test us. This is not a fight, this is not a quarrel. I want to just negotiate it because I want to do the right thing. And that was what he did. Now you don't need to be loud to influence people. You don't even need to be noisy to influence people. You can respectfully convince people and share your opinion without quarreling, without having issues with people, without being forceful about it. They were able to influence And it grows with wisdom, with knowledge and understanding, and even with humility. Now, something else that they did was that one thing that I learned from their life is that, do you know what happened? Because they were disciplined, it stood them, it makes them, it sets them apart. Now they decided to be disciplined by not doing what others are doing, and that kind of set them apart. It sets them apart from every other person. And of course, we're going to learn about how much that helped them. Now, when you are very disciplined, we can apply it to our different walks of life. When you are very disciplined, it makes you more productive. It helps you to stand out. Discipline over motivation, discipline over every other thing. There's no way you'll be disciplined that um you will not see the impact. When you are disciplined you are very disciplined to stay consistent, disciplined to show up, disciplined to do things. Discipline sets you apart. It helps you stay productive. It helps you stand out. It helps you to achieve things. It's discipline that will make you to do things even when it's not convenient. It's discipline that will make you be productive, that will make you show up every other day, that will make you go extra miles. So you need discipline. And that was one of the things that set them apart from other people. Now, one of the things that I discovered is that God rewards discipline. God rewards faithfulness. And because they were faithful and because they honored God, God rewarded them. God rewarded them. He gave them blessings. He blessed them. At the end, what were they? Now, in the scripture, in verse 15, he said, at the end of the 10 days, Daniel and his friends look healthier and better, nourished than the young people. God gave these four young men unusual aptitude for understanding every aspect of literature and wisdom. And God gave Daniel the special ability to interpret the meanings and visions of dreams. When Daniel, now one of the things we understood from this scripture, in verse 20, we saw that Daniel was 10 times better than others. Now, they didn't have to brag. Their excellence stood out for them. I can imagine how much effort they had put in while they were there. They didn't just go to judge. And even if we start reading the other scriptures and the other chapters, we'll come to discover so many things about Daniel and his friends. Excellent, how excellent they were in their life and how that made them stood apart. They were 10 times better than others. Remember, they selected people that were vast in certain knowledge, people that had certain ability and gifts. And then these people, when God tested them, when they took them there and trained them for a period of time, when the kings tested them, he saw that they were 10 times better. God rewarded them for their faithfulness. And they made sure that they knew that for them, they needed to stand out. They needed to stand out. You see that excellence speak louder. Now, wherever you find yourself, in school, at work, anywhere, one of the things you should aim at is how to stand out, how to be excellent, where your results will speak. You don't have to make noise. Your results will speak for you because you are doing very well, because you are making effort, you are doing better, you are putting in your best. You're not just trying to be a mediocre. You are trying to stand out. You are doing things the right way. You are producing good results. Results will speak for you. Results will speak for you everywhere. So I don't want to say so many things. I feel there are things we've learned: to be disciplined, to do everything with excellence, to know who you are and stand by it, to learn how to stand, to learn to have an identity, to have standards, and you stand by those standards, to be disciplined enough, to be disciplined and not just be someone who is careless, to have a standard, and not someone that is just moved by every wind of anybody can just, irrespective of circumstance, and to make sure your excellence speak for you, and not just, and try to do negotiation, not just someone who is just like not trying to make everything by quarrel. You can negotiate your way out of things. Like what they did, they didn't just fight, they tried to negotiate. They like test us. And what happened? They had a reward at the end of the day. I hope you learned something from today. I would probably show up another day to share one or two things that I learned. Please don't forget to drop a comment um drop a comment or two to tell me what you think or what you are learning from that particular verse or chapter, because I feel like there's a lot to learn from that place. And I pray and hope that God will begin to open our eyes to even see more and learn more. And as you come across this video, please don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you have a productive day, and I hope you learned something to be more productive.